Hello, my name is Elias Anderson, and this is my favorite thing that I learned at S&P. It is the Gestalt principles and specifically closure and continuation. So first off, to get a grip, here are the Gestalt principles. First, we have good figure, similarity, closure, proximity, continuation, and symmetry. But now specifically, we're going to be focusing on the two C's, what I like to call it, closure and continuation. These are my personal favorite concepts from Gestalt psychology. First off, we're going to be talking about closure. Closure is when the people tend to fill in the blanks and to perceive a complete object whenever it matches an external stimuli or object. So for this example on the right, we have a soccer ball, but the only reason we can tell it's a soccer ball is because our mind puts it together. It puts the little black patches and it kind of closes off in a circle. And since we have that external stimuli that matches our idea of the soccer ball, it just fits together and our mind puts it together. And it kind of closes these gaps right here in between so we can fill out and see the whole soccer ball. These are some of my favorite examples of closure. First off, we have this classic example of the WWF logo, which is a panda. And you can see that because our mind closes off these sections and puts it all together in order to see the full picture of a panda. Next, we have a little bit more complicated example of closure, which is a Nike ad, which is a football player. And you can see right here, if you look, you can see like it's all one red blotch. However, you can see the hair, you can see the arms, and it closes together, and our mind puts it together that we can see this full picture of the jersey and the helmet and all that stuff putting into one image. Finally, we have VW advertisement, which is like the Jaws shark devouring a leg that we can see, and our mind just puts these two images together, and that is great example of closure. Another thing I thought would be really cool to include would be more on the Worldwide Fund for Nature, or the WWF, which is, the panda is the logo for the Worldwide Fund for Nature. And they had this really cool campaign where they put out a bunch of examples of closure using the continents of the world to create animals. So for this one, we have the whale. The second one, we have a bear. And the third one, we have a chicken. And I just think it's a really cool and more complex and involved examples of this closure concept. What I've also noticed is that distance plays a huge factor into this. Whereas like, if you're very up close to the image you're looking at, it's harder to see the big picture. But as soon as you get farther away, the image comes together and your mind puts it together. Next, my second favorite concept of Gestalt psychology is continuation. And this is the tendency of the human eye to follow the continuous path, be it lines or curves or intersections, until it encounters another path or another intersection. And this is an example of a cross. And I'll explain more about it on the next slide. So these are some of my favorite examples of continuation. This is the classic example, A, B, and C. So we can see this random figure right here, but our mind puts it together as an intersection on B of two lines. And we see that this line just continues on its path, and this one does as well. And we rarely or never see it as two separate strings or lines that just touch each other. We usually see it as an intersection or a cross because it's that continuity. Some more examples of this are the Chanel logo. We see it as two C's following a consistent path, not this weird shape just jammed together. And then just another classic example of continuation is the Olympic logo. We see the circles individually, not as different shapes. So why I find these concepts so fascinating, I think they're very prevalent in our daily lives, and we come across them in things like advertisements and normal uh, marketing. It really is part of the marketing field, and we see it in advertisements and just in images around us. Secondly, it can vary in complexity. So if I take closure as an example, the image of the panda was a lot less complex than perhaps the image of the whale. And I think that's just a really cool aspect of these concepts. It's almost like a game. And finally, for my third reason why I find these Gestalt concepts super interesting is because they're involuntary and we don't really control it. And our mind just puts it together voluntarily without our mind having to consciously put two things together and figure it out. It just kind of happens, which I think is a very, very unique and interesting point. Thank you very much. I had a great time in your class, and this is an awesome opportunity for me to share my favorite thing. Thank you.